Hey everybody, it's Dr. Nichols-Boyle again. So today the topic of our next assignment is to help you create an interactive blog, so adding some features to your blog, customizing it a little bit. And I also want to go through briefly the visual blog post assignment and working with images in Blogger, although some of you have already started to do this, and image credit, which I still feel we are struggling a little bit with. So I'm going to go through the instruction sheet again. I recommend, as always, print out the Create an Interactive Blog sheet from the module and the visual blog post assignment so you can follow along. So the first thing I have down there is making sure, again, that if you've not done so, that you invite the rest of the class to view your blog. If you have it public, you don't need to do anything if your blog appears on the class blog list. So if it's somewhere here on the side and it's public, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to make sure that more people see it or you get more followers, you can always just reply to the W315 class emails message I sent in Gmail and show people your blog post, your blog address rather, and they can follow you from there. So that's another way to get some people following you. And make sure you use the latest one because that is all the Gmail addresses I have for the class. If you are choosing to keep it private, you will have to again go back into settings, go down to permissions, and instead of keeping it public, you'll edit again to private only blog authors, and you will have to, or so private only these readers, and then you will have to add the readers. And you can copy and paste that list of email addresses for the class because you have to make it visible to the class, at least for the purposes of this class until it's through, in the W315 class emails message in Gmail. And if it just says the names, if you go to the drop-down menu next to names and see all, it will show the actual email addresses and you can copy and paste it in there. Okay, so I'm going to change mine back to public. All right. And again, just as another little quick message here, as I said before, this is the advantage of keeping it public. You see the people that have it public, it will show, and you can even add more of this information, but I want to keep it brief, their title of their latest post and when they published it. So this is a nice way to kind of move up people's list if they have a list of blogs they're following, which we're going to add today. And it kind of keeps you on their radar a little bit more. So those of you who have it private, you can see it's just the blog name that's listed and nothing else. So it's a little bit nicer to keep it public, again, especially if you want to find that audience in the future. And for the purposes of this course, it's unlikely. Someone will find your blog if you don't want them to. All right, so now we're going to go into actually adding new features. As always, you can click Design from inside your blog to get to the place where you need to make any adjustments. So we've been working a lot in the template section before, right? We're going to go into the layout section. All right, so layout is where we're going to make more changes to the actual features that we're adding here. This is also where you can kind of move things around and that as well. So the first thing we're going to do is add in our labels. So you've been creating labels in your posts, right? Like here about this blog introduction, but they don't show up as an index really until you create your label list. So you'll get a better idea of what this means. So I'm going to hit Add a Gadget and do it in one of your sidebars. If you only have one sidebar, that's fine too. And then you're going to scroll down until you see labels. So here's my labels here. So even though I have labels, they won't show up in my blog until, except for out in the post, until I hit this labels. Labels, again, the purpose of this is like an index in a book. So once you start getting more posts, remember that your page will become very long and they'll have to scroll through all these posts to find what they want. So if people want to find information on a specific topic, if you've labeled your posts correctly, they can just click on one of those labels and go to those specific posts rather than have to kind of scroll through and see what they like. So you can keep it labels. I like to label mine index just because I think it makes a little more sense. And I'll keep it all labels I'll keep it alphabetically. You can do it by frequency. If you do it by frequency, it'll have whatever posted most up on top of the list. You can have it in list format, or you can make it like a cloud with different word sizes. You can play around with this. I'm going to keep mine list, and I am going to click show number of posts per label. All right, so I'll save that. And then you can see here's my index created here. Now, one of the things we always want to remember is to keep our About Me at the top of the page, because that helps brand us and for the people to know who this blog author is. So I want to click on the About Me and just drag it up above the index, so that way this will still appear first on my page. And I have an awful lot of blogs here, so in order to make mine more prominent, I think I'm going to drag my index over here and maybe have my blog archive above it. So I'm just going to play around with that. Make sure you hit save arrangement as always in order to make sure that it actually saves. And then you hit view blog. So to give you an idea, so here's my index. And I've added a few posts since last time. So you can see it's alphabetical, and then it lists the number of posts for each one. So if I want to, say, only look at the posts about visual blog posting, this is how a reader will look at this. It'll get longer as it goes along. I would click on that, and it would just pull up those 3 posts that have to do with visual blog posting. Right? So that's the way the labels works. Okay, good. So then we're going to go back in, and we're going to create a blog list. So you see, I already have a blog list here with all the class blogs, and I added one more public blog so you can kind of see how that looks as well. And you're going to do the same thing. You're not going to add all the class blogs, but you are going to start creating a blog list so we can have more of a community, and because it's a good feature to kind of have when you start following other people's blogs, they often start following yours, and it helps create more readers. So we'll go back in here. Again, we're going to add a gadget. This is the layout section again in design. And you're going to go down to you see blog list. Here it is, blog list. And you can keep it just my blog list. I named mine here my blogosphere. I'll just keep this one my blog list. And you can choose, I'm sorting it by the most recently updated, or you can do alphabetically. But I like to see who's been posting recently. And you can have the icon, the title of the most recent item, and maybe the date of the last update if you want. You can see that it automatically does how many hours ago the last post was. You don't want to get too much. If you do snippet and thumbnail and date, then it becomes really large and takes up a lot of your space there in the sidebar. But you could do a few of these things, and then you will save it. And then your blog list will be created. I won't do that because I already have one. So once you have created your blog list, then you are going to add at least 2 blogs from the class to your list, okay? Any ones that you're interested in. So to find which blogs you want to go to, you can just go to the class blog link, which again is up there in the modules. And you can kind of scroll down the side and see which ones sound interesting to you, okay? So let's say I want to add, food and drink in Michiana, okay? Then I would just make sure that I copy this address, and then when I go back into my blog list, I just edit by doing this, or from within here I can hit edit, either way. Just go in here, and then you're going to add to list. Add to list, add by URL, just paste right in that address and hit add. And it's not going to work for me because I already have that one added. So we'll try a different one. So if it's public, like this one is, it's just going to appear, the name will show up here, you just have to hit save. I'm going to show you what happens if it's a private blog. Another reason, disadvantage a little bit to having that private blog. So let me show you one I had previously. Oops. Let's see. Fashion on the fly. Okay, so here's one that is private from the class. This is from Skylar's blog. So if I add to list here and click add, I'll get this little error message, cannot detect a feed for this URL. Add URL anyway, and you're going to hit OK. But you see what happens, it just says blogger. So it doesn't say what the blog name is. You have to go in there, hit rename for any private blog, and then name it what the title of the blog is. So it's Fashion on the Fly, and hit save. Okay, and then I'll save it here. Okay. So again, that's the kind of disadvantage to adding a private blog, but it's up to you. Your privacy is your decision. Okay, so that's how we're going to do the class blogs. So I want you to create that blog list, create that label list, have at least 2 class blogs. You can also add other blogs, particularly other blogs that are in your field is great. And normally that's kind of the way you would do it, but I want us to get the class community going too. So if your blog was about editing, I think one of ours is about editing romance novels, then you might add other blogs from other romance editing or editing sites. So you can kind of start following and commenting on each other, and they can kind of come back and see that you're following them. Okay, so those are the 2 major things. The other thing, again, before Tuesday, at the end of the day, is to comment on at least 2 class blogs. And they don't have to be the ones you're following or that you've chosen to add. Again, you can just go to anybody's blog here and see somebody that already has theirs first one up. And to comment, you're just going to click on comments if there are any. If not, no comments. And you will enter your comment here and publish. Okay. Remember, when you're commenting, look for your feedback in the blog's contribution that you did last week. But you want it to be, of course, thoughtful, appropriate, professional. But most importantly, in addition to that, is to facilitate conversation. So make sure that you're asking a question, that you're giving an example, that you're continuing the conversation in some way. Okay, so those are the main things that you have to do to help make your blog more interactive. There are other features you can do, and these are completely optional, but some other things in adding a gadget that you could do. For example, you can do things like a search this blog. If it got bigger, you can add a search box. I would stay away from the video bar because it just kind of randomly does videos from YouTube on whatever topic you choose, so it's not great. Followed by email is a great one. If you add that, then people can put in their email address, and they will be notified to their email address anytime you have a new post. So it's another great way to kind of keep people coming back. There's also ones where you can add a poll, and you get to add in the questions and leave it up for a certain number of times. That's a great interactive one too. And you can do the kinds of things like share my Twitter, those kinds of ones as well. So there's some other options. The other thing is they do have more gadgets here. Just be a little bit careful. We're not looking to monetize it right now, so I would stay away from adding more ads and that sort of thing. And you can add a permanent image or a text box for a quote, something like that, if you wanted to, say in the sidebar or on the bottom, but try not to make it too busy. Some of these gadgets are not very helpful, like this one, if you add it, it's just fish swimming around, which might sound like fun, but it doesn't really add anything to your blog. So just be a little bit careful if you're playing around with adding different gadgets. Okay, the one thing that I will say, completely optional again, but I've added in a favicon generator to help with this, so you can choose an image and work on this, and there's also a few free favicons out there. So the favicon is this little thing up here that shows up next to your blog in the browser window, and in other people's blogs if they say choose to add you to a blog list, something like that, and it helps brand it. So here's one I did from a previous class. You can see I just chose one that was like a little stylist writing for the web kind of thing. If we look on my blog post here, the Huffington Post is a big H, right? So this is something you can do if you want. Go in and change the favicon for your blog. But again, you don't have to do this. And it is kind of difficult because it has to be a certain dimension, square, and it has to be something that's recognizable that small. So a lot of things that you might think look cool look sort of like a big blur otherwise. So play around with it if you want to, but it's not It's not definitely something you don't have to do. If you do want to change this, it's in the layout section. You go to the favicon, hit edit, choose a favicon file once you've created it, and save it here, and it will show up. Okay, so that's all with creating an interactive blog. I want to briefly move on to the visual blog post assignment. So for the visual blog post, I put up a few things here. One of the things that I want to stress with this is we're going to kind of create the post around a picture and talk about how it connects to our blog topic to get sort of a new perspective on it and give us a new idea about this topic. So in other words, this would be my poor example that I put on the blog. If this was a blog about adopting pets, and I had this picture, and it said, although this cat isn't actually up for adoption, his saucy demeanor and downright cuteness remind us why looking after our feline friends is so important. Would this be a strong, abstract picture to forward an argument for a blog about adopting pets? No, right? Because it's a cat and it's a blog about adopting pets, so it's obvious. So we want something that's not an obvious connection, something a little bit more abstract, not directly connected to the topic, and then we make that connection. So this wouldn't be great, and it's also poor quality, and it kind of looks like a rat, and it's not big enough. So there's other issues with this image as well. Now, in contrast, I put up a few pictures that could maybe be more abstract and connected in an interesting way. Like this, for example, which actually is a dog toy, which I didn't realize when I chose it. I just wasn't sure what it was. And if you look at that, you can kind of practice yourself with how you would use something like this, thinking about what emotions or ideas spring to mind when you look at this image. Why does or doesn't it appeal to you? How could you use this picture to help make an argument or a point about your blog topic? So if I were to choose this, for example, with writing for the web as a topic, I could do a lot of things. I could talk about how writing for the web helps to kind of show this interconnectedness, how you can lead from one topic to another, or the diversity of opinions with the different colors, yet forming this kind of cohesive entity that seems to be sort of living and growing and never ending. So there's a lot I could do with this, or I could talk about it being a diverse community, complicated, that you have to work hard to make sense of it and see the bigger picture, all of those kinds of things for something like this. Similarly, this is kind of an abstract picture. You're not really sure what it is that the crowd is looking at, or how many people. Are they men or women? Is it a concert? Are they angry or happy? Is it maybe a riot? So what's kind of going on, and how could we connect this to your topic? So again, for writing for the web, I could talk about activism on the web and how it can be used as a format for bringing people together and really getting their voices out there in a place that's not censored, right? So then it would be an obvious connection to writing for the web. So that's what I'm really looking for. I put up an image database link that has two places to kind of give you some places for looking for images. One is 50 inspirational images. Again, just really nice sort of abstract images you could relate to a lot of different things. And for each of these, they're Creative Commons, so they're copyright free, but you do need to give the image credit. So you can do it just like this. Just copy this link and put it in your blog. The other one is finding and using images from the web. So it has a little bit of information about what's legal and what to do in copyrighted images. For educational purposes, we could do an awful lot, but as we're treating this as more a professional blog, we want to think about copyright. So these are all free online image databases that don't need copyright. So these are all copyright free. But each of them has their own information. So this one says a credit is required if you use an image in printed or other offline material. But not if you use an image online. It just requires you to link to the website in your image credit, right? This one is searchable, but credit is required. So you just have to give credit, but you don't have to give any money, and it's not copyrighted, so it's free to use. It requires you to credit the National Park Service. So always a good idea to credit where it came from, but this has a huge idea. Creative Commons is a good one. Free images. National Park Service, depending on it. Stock Exchange is a good one too. There's a whole bunch of ones you can choose here rather than just going to Google and typing in a topic. So these are helping you make sure that you're doing it copyright free. So if we are, just to make sure we know how to do this, if we're doing a new post, and I don't want it to be titled, visual blog post, I want it to be something about the topic. So creating an online community, maybe. Let's say that was my topic. And when I insert my image here, oops, that was video, the image link here, I'm going to choose the file. And I'm just going to choose something that's on my desktop so it's easy. This is actually not connected to my topic, but that's okay. This is something from Dublin. Okay, so here it goes. It's uploading. And then I'll hit Add Selected. This is how it shows up. If I want to work with this, I just have to click on it. And again, I can kind of move it down if I want to add text or whatever. And then I can make it small, medium, large, extra large, original size, left, center, right. I can add a caption, which is a great way to get your image credit right in here. So I can do image credit. And what I don't want to see is Google, because Google doesn't really tell me what website you got it from. It just tells me what search engine. So I want to see the exact website. So the website might be things to do in Dublin. Okay, and then I will highlight that and link it. And this is not the right web address, but we'll get the idea. Open this link in a new window always, so people don't move away from your blog, and hit OK. Right, and that would how you do the image credit. Just really quickly, if you do find something from Google and you don't remember what the site was, one of the things you want to look at when you're in Google, just go to Google here. If you Google something, and I just say I want, like this, Dublin or something. Say I wanted to look at images of Dublin. Look at my images. And this is the image I want to use. Never just take it from here. Go for your link, visit page. And if I visit the page, that will take me to exactly where it appears. And this is the site I want to give. Okay. If you've already found one, you can't remember what site you got it from, because I just said Google and I really want to use this picture. There is a way to also reverse search. So you can go to images.google.com and click on the little camera and upload your image. So I'll choose again my leprechaun one. I don't remember exactly what site I got that from. And hit choose here. And it will upload that. There it goes. And it'll automatically search it. So if you go down here, pages that include matching images, the most unusual things to do in Dublin, 5 big sporting dates. So you will get those. And then I can just go to that site. There's the picture. And here's my link. Here's my image credit. So that's a quick way to kind of reverse search something too from Google Images. And it's a good way to see if pictures later on that you don't want out there are out there. So that's always a good skill to have. Okay, so that takes us through everything with the 2 assignments. And please, as always,